Literally his best friend, probably. Mikey was probably his best friend.
Listen to what Erika says here about Mikey McKoy. She doesn't mean to expose him or Turning Point USA, but she does.
Of course, Pastor Rob McCoy's son, his name is Mike McKoy, and you're going to see what he does, not in the seconds following Charlie getting shot, but in less than 1 second after Charlie gets shot. These are not seconds, less than 1 second. You're going to watch what Michael McCoy does. First, let's hear his daddy's version of the event. Take it away, Pastor McCoy.
As a father, I want to protect my son. And I thought, I got a plan for you, son. He said, Dad, that's not Charlie's plan. And you know what? I'm looking at my son who's 24 years old. Justin's the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and Mikey's the Chief of Staff. And I'm watching, the minute Charlie was shot, he called me, says, Dad, Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call every pastor and pray. I said, okay, son. He has wits about him. He was just directing. He had blood all over him. And
two things I want you to remember here. You may have caught that, but he said, I was watching, and the minute Charlie got shot, he called, and Mikey McKoy says to his dad, Charlie's been shot, pray for him. He says the minute, maybe he's being a little hyperbolic. We're going to find out. I'd certainly like to find out. But he stops himself. He says, I was watching. Watching what exactly?
The second Mikey McKoy's wife dropped those leaks, everything flipped. What looked like a tragic moment suddenly felt staged, coordinated, like someone was trying way too hard to keep certain details buried. And the wild part? The more you dig, the messier it gets. Because nothing in the story lines up. Not the footage, not the timelines, not the reactions, and definitely not the silence coming from the people who should be screaming the loudest. But here's the real spark. Mikey's wife didn't just hint at drama. She cracked the door open and let the whole storm roll in. Screenshots, voice notes, timestamps, all pointing at the same uncomfortable direction. And apparently, Erika Kirk is doing everything she can to slam that door shut again. When someone starts trying to quiet the only person talking, that's when you know there's more behind the curtain. People online are calling this an inside setup. Others say the footage itself exposes something nobody wants to admit. And when you compare what Erika said on national TV to what TPUSA claimed behind the scenes, somebody is lying, boldly. So let's walk through it. The footage, the contradictions, the leaks, the vanishing wife.
Listen to what Erika says here about Mikey McKoy. She doesn't mean to expose him or Turning Point USA, but she does. Watch, and then I'll show you.
Did you find out Charlie had been shot?
Was at my mom's doctor's appointment. I have my phone and I see the video come in of him flinging out the hats. And I said, Mom, look, it started. So we saw the hats being flung. I put my phone down and it was on silent, so I had no reason to look back at it. I moved my mom, I went back to grab my phone, and that's when Mikey started calling me. He called me within seconds.
I called Erika. I just remember it rang like 3 or 4 times. I didn't know what to say. Those are the words that will change someone's life forever, and you have to be the one to say it. That was the first time I've ever called her during a campus tour stop.
And so Mikey called me, and I'll never forget him just being like, Charlie's been shot. He's been shot, get the kids. Get security, get the kids, he's been shot. I sprinted out of her treatment center. I just collapsed in the middle of the parking lot. I called our security. Yeah. Unbelievable nightmare.
So according to Erika, Mikey called her within seconds. If you might remember, that Mikey McKoy has been under a lot of fire for how he reacted less than 1 second after Charlie was shot. He put his phone, or his hands, to his ears, looks like his phone, and began walking away. People were highly suspicious of this, and we were told by Turning Point USA, executive producer of The Charlie Kirk Show, Andrew Colvette, that Mikey did not make a phone call here. He, in fact, put his hands up over his ears because the shot was very loud. Remember this.
Last thing, because this is part of the video allegations here, is that they're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, So he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around, and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I. This is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud, and he was so shell-shocked, he put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand. He walks away.
Blake Neff, who's also on this Charlie Kirk show from Turning Point USA, who was right next to Mikey McKoy when the shot rang out, also explained that Mikey McKoy and him separated. It was not until they reconvened after the fact, when he encountered Mikey with his lip quivering, that the phone call was then made to Erika and then to his father, Rob McCoy. Candace Owens came out straight up yesterday and said that this was an inside job. People are suspicious because of inconsistencies and lies.
And why every single sign in this story points to something bigger happening behind the scenes. Because once you see what Mikey's wife revealed, you won't look at any of these people the same again. The first red flag in this whole mess wasn't a leak, wasn't a rumor. It was that video. You know the one. The moment the shot goes off, everyone else jumps, flinches, ducks, screams, and Mikey? He doesn't do any of that. He doesn't even hesitate. He just lifts his phone straight to his ear like he'd been waiting on that exact moment. No dialing, no swiping, no checking the screen, nothing. It's like muscle memory, but for something you shouldn't have muscle memory for. And the way he walks off, calm, slow, almost bored. Phones to his ear, head turned away while Charlie is literally being rushed into a van right behind him. People around him are freaking out, crying, running in every direction, and Mikey is pacing like he's leaving a meeting that ended 5 minutes early. Then comes the zoomed clip, the one that sent the internet spiraling. When you look close, he isn't even pressing anything. His arms are folded, phone already at his ear before he reacts to anything happening around him. Candace Owens broke it down and said the timing from the gunshot to the phone at his ear was 834 milliseconds.
Of course, Pastor Rob McCoy's son, his name is Mike McKoy, and you're going to see what he does not in the seconds following Charlie getting shot, but in less than 1 second after Charlie gets shot. These are not seconds, less than 1 second. You're going to watch what Michael McCoy does. First, let's hear his daddy's version of the event. Take it away, Pastor McCoy.
As a father, I want to protect my son. And I thought, I got a plan for you, son. He said, Dad, that's not Charlie's plan. And you know what? I'm looking at my son who's 24 years old. Justin's the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and Mikey's the Chief of Staff. And I'm watching, the minute Charlie was shot, he called me, says, Dad, Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call every pastor and pray. I said, okay, son. He has wits about him. He was just directing. He had blood all over him. And
two things I want you to remember here. You may have caught that, but he said, I was watching, and the minute Charlie got shot, he called, and Mikey McKoy says to his dad, Charlie's been shot, pray for him. He says the minute, maybe he's being a little hyperbolic. We're going to find out. I'd certainly like to find out. But he stops himself. He says, I was watching. Watching what exactly? What were you watching? I wouldn't remember that. It's rubbing me the wrong way, and I'm going to tell you why that's rubbing me the wrong way in a little bit. But the bigger thing is that he says Mikey had blood all over him. Except Mikey did not have blood anywhere near him because Mikey was behind the tent when Charlie got shot. And Mikey, in less than a second, does something that I find to be quite strange. He puts his phone to his ear and he begins a conversation. So we're going to watch that clip in its entirety. Mark is going to bring it in. So we decided to slow this clip down, and we're going to watch this clip slow down so you can see that it is exactly 834 milliseconds from the time that you hear the shot. That is how long it takes for Mikey McKoy to put the phone to his ear. Now, why is that precise timing so important? Because there's no dialing. Mikey didn't have time to dial, okay? You can't dial and put your phone to an ear in 0.834 seconds. The next time that you're going to see Mikey McKoy, as we just showed you, is in just under 2.5 seconds on the other side of the tent. He's on a phone call. So we can track Mikey, but let's watch the clip again in milliseconds so you really grasp how quickly this transpires. So when this clip was brought, there we go, we're tracking that. Yeah, when the clip was brought to my attention, I obviously have a file, a big folder of files of every angle, and I decided to track Mikey from every angle available to see, like, maybe we just missed it, and he did at some point put that phone down, dial a number, speed dial, hold down one, I don't know. Maybe we missed it. Because that seems automatic, right? 0.834, that seems pretty quick. And no, he doesn't do that. We even have him in front of Charlie's car. When Charlie is brought to the car, the waiting car rather, he is still on the phone. And I can show you the clip of that. Take a look at this. Don't worry, we'll slow it down for you. See him in the background with the backpack. Mikey McKoy. Okay. So what are we to make of that? The only logical conclusion that I can come up with, and many others, because I've pressed, I said, play devil's advocate. I want you to advocate for Mikey McKoy. I want you to play lawyer, and you are representing your client, Mikey McKoy. What was he do? How did he do it this quickly? No one could win this game. The only logical conclusion we come up with was that Mikey was already on a phone call at 12:23 p.m. By 12:23 p.m. He was already on a phone call. So I said, let's go back a little earlier in the footage and see if we can find when he actually maybe dials onto the phone. Maybe we can see him pick up the phone and begin a call before the shot takes off. And then after beginning that call, if we're following this logic, that would mean he puts his phone down until Charlie gets shot. And we were able to find what we think could be that moment. And I can tell you that it is 1 minute and 45 seconds approximately before that shot goes off, and we can watch that here. You see Mikey's on his phone here, and you're going to see he pulls it up, and he starts to cover his ear again. Now, that could be unrelated. Again, we're taking a guess here. That's what made the most sense to us because we couldn't justify it in any other way. And I want to be clear, we're not here to make assumptions, okay? And we wouldn't have to make any assumptions if Turning Point USA could just tell the truth. They could just be open and they could be honest about everything. Okay, I obviously went out to both Mikey McKoy and Andrew Colvett for a statement, asked those two questions. Hey, who were you on the phone with? What's going on here? No response. Weird. Because if that was me and I saw clips going viral and people were drawing conclusions from that clip, thinking that I was already on the phone, thinking that my reaction was weird, I would instantly hit back. I'd say, here's my call log. You want to know who I was on the phone with? 911, obviously. I was freaking out. I called 911. I didn't know what I was doing. Here's my phone. Here's my whole call log for that day. But this is, I don't know. I guess we live in a world where that doesn't make sense. I would have issued a statement to dispel any rumors, but they have not. Here's what I want to say, and I honestly understand I'm preaching to the choir here. Everything about this is wrong. You know it, and I know it. But I actually know it better than most because I helped build that organization, and that's why I am almost the perfect person to discern what is normal and what is abnormal in terms of what happened at that college campus event. In fact, when I did my tribute to Charlie, this is unbelievable. Remember, just after he died.
Not even a full second. Not enough time to dial. Not enough time to process anything. Just instant. That's when people started saying out loud what everyone else was thinking quietly. This doesn't look like shock. It looks like preparation. But the strangest part, that reaction wasn't even the part that made people suspicious. It's what came after. The way everyone suddenly started describing Mikey like he was some kind of legend. Here's where things went from, that was weird, to, okay, what are we even looking at? Because right after the footage started circulating, people noticed something strange. almost theatrical in how everyone at TPUSA talked about Mikey. And I'm not talking about casual praise. I mean, every single time someone mentioned his name, there was this polished little adjective glued in front of it. The amazing Mikey McKoy, the brilliant Mikey McKoy, the heroic Mikey McKoy. It felt less like casual compliments and more like everyone memorized the same script. Online, people started pointing it out. Even Candace Owens questioned it publicly, saying it was odd that Mikey was the only one getting this royal treatment. And honestly, she had a point. When something feels overly curated, overly rehearsed, it instantly raises eyebrows. Most folks don't talk about their coworkers like they're Marvel superheroes, especially in a moment as serious as what happened that day. And it wasn't just one clip, it was interview after interview, post after post, pastors, coworkers, friends, all rolling out these shiny adjectives like they were required. It didn't feel natural. It felt planted. Like someone needed the world to view Mikey in a very specific light, very quickly. And when praise starts sounding like PR instead of emotion, people start asking why. What are they trying to shape? What are they trying to protect? But then came the moment that cracked the whole story open. Erika Kirk's interview, where she said something that didn't match the official explanation at all. This is the moment everything snapped into focus. The exact point where people online said, hold on, somebody isn't telling the truth. Because when Erika Kirk went on national TV, she gave a detail that instantly clashed with what TPUSA had been pushing everywhere else. She said she found out about the shooting within seconds because Mikey called her. Not texted, not missed called right after the shot. And that lines up perfectly, almost too perfectly, with the viral footage of him putting his phone to his ear immediately, like he was already mid-conversation. So naturally, people who'd been analyzing the clip were like, yep, that's exactly what it looked like. But here's the twist. TPUSA's own executive producer had already tried to debunk that. He said the exact opposite, that Mikey wasn't on the phone at all. His explanation was, Mikey was supposedly just covering his ears from the loud noise, and the phone just happened to be there. No call, no conversation, nothing.
So who's telling the truth? Erika or the organization speaking on her behalf? Online discussions went crazy after that. Because if Erika is right, then the footage isn't being misinterpreted. But if the producer is right, then Erika, grieving, emotional, and in front of millions, somehow got the single most important detail wrong. And the wildest part, Mikey could clear it all up in seconds. Just released the call logs, one screenshot, case closed. But so far, nothing. And silence always has a way of sounding louder than any explanation. And just when people thought the contradictions were the peak of this story, something from weeks before the shooting made everything feel even stranger. Here's where the internet really started side-eyeing the whole situation. Because people dug up something from before the shooting that suddenly felt way too convenient. Weeks earlier, the Kirks and the McCoys went on their first ever family vacation together. Not their 10th, not their yearly tradition, their first. And Eliza McCoy posted about it proudly, saying they spent a few weeks together that summer. At first, nobody thought much of it, but once the footage and contradictions started circulating, people began revisiting that trip with a whole new lens. And the strangest part? The McCoys weren't just hanging out, they were filming a lot. They captured these tender, private family moments. Charlie walking with his kids, Erika grabbing his hand, the kind of footage you almost never get unless the person behind the camera is intentionally documenting everything. And when Candace Owens mentioned it, the comment section exploded. Because on most family trips, filming is random, messy, inconsistent. But the McCoys seemed to be recording the Kirks like they were filming a documentary. People online kept asking, why so much footage? Why then? Why their first trip? It didn't help that just 4 days before the shooting, Mikey filmed Charlie in Korea and said it was the first time he ever felt moved to do that. Maybe it's just timing, maybe it's coincidence. But after everything else, people weren't buying that explanation so easily. And then came the moment everything went nuclear. The leaks that were allegedly dropped by Mikey's own wife. This is the part of the story that made people stop scrolling. Because out of nowhere, literally in the middle of the night, an account that people believed was tied to Mikey's wife dropped something online without warning. No caption, no explanation, just screenshots, audio clips, and 3 chilling words that felt like a punch in the chest. That's when the internet absolutely erupted. The screenshots showed what looked like a private group chat. The names weren't spelled out, just initials and vague labels, but people online immediately started guessing who was who. The messages weren't long, but they carried this weird, uncomfortable tone that made people uneasy. Stuff like, "Everything is set. Keep calm if it happens. We've rehearsed this." And the line that went viral instantly, "Erika already knows." Again, these leaks were not verified. They could have been altered, taken out of context, or even fake, but that didn't stop them from spreading like wildfire. Because the timing, that's what made people's hearts drop. The timestamps in the alleged screenshots lined up almost exactly with the moment Mikey was seen lifting his phone in the footage. That tiny overlap sent social media into full-blown detective mode. Then came the voice memo. A woman whispering, shaking, saying, "I can't stay quiet anymore. This wasn't an accident." No one knew who she was. Some people claimed it was Mikey's wife. Others insisted it was someone else trying to protect her. Nobody had proof, just theories, arguments, and a timeline that suddenly felt way too tight. Real or fake, verified or not, one thing was clear. The internet took these leaks seriously. And once they spread, nothing about this story felt the same again. But what happened after the leaks dropped? That's what pushed people into full suspicion mode. Here's where the whole situation took a turn that freaked people out, not because of what was posted, but because of what vanished. Almost immediately after those alleged leaks hit the internet, the account believed to belong to Mikey's wife went dark. Posts gone, profile wiped, friends' pages locked up like someone flipped a panic switch. And since nothing was confirmed, people online started filling in the blanks themselves. Some said she was told to stop talking. Others said she was overwhelmed and scared. Nobody actually knew, but the sudden disappearance only fueled the fire.
Meanwhile, something strange happened on the TPUSA side. Instead of ignoring the drama or making a clean official statement, the organization started pumping out content praising Mikey nonstop. Interview clips, panel discussions, podcasts, and in almost every single one, he was framed as this unwavering, heroic figure. Online viewers noticed how polished it all looked, almost like everyone had gotten the same memo. It didn't feel natural, it felt curated. In one clip that went viral, someone comforts Mikey and tells him to ignore the conspiracy theories and take a deep breath. The internet caught onto the tone instantly, soft, protective, almost rehearsed. And because the conversation didn't address any of the inconsistencies people were pointing out, it didn't calm anyone down. If anything, it made things feel even stranger. Then came the biggest question circulating online. If the rumors were truly nonsense, why wasn't anyone shutting them down directly? No lawsuits, no public debunks with timestamps or receipts, just controlled messaging and quiet faces. Again, there's zero proof of anything. No confirmations, no verified wrongdoing, just an avalanche of online chatter reacting to what looked like a carefully managed public narrative. And if you thought that was the end of the strange behavior, Erika's own interview added a whole new layer of questions people still haven't stopped talking about. Ready for Section 7? Just when people thought the story couldn't get any stranger, Erika Kirk's own interview added a twist that sent comment sections into overdrive. Not because she revealed anything concrete, but because of how she phrased things. When Jesse Waters asked her if they found the person responsible, she didn't say yes, or even the suspect. She simply said, "I trust our team." The internet immediately picked up on that. It sounded vague, careful, almost like she was choosing each word like it might explode if handled the wrong way. Then she said she didn't believe in coincidences. Again, a normal statement in isolation, but in the context of everything else, it added gasoline to the already chaotic online conversation, especially because Candace Owens, who has been intensely covering this situation, openly questioned the official narrative on her platform. And whether people agreed with her or not, her commentary made viewers re-examine every detail they thought they understood. At this point, the online chatter had blended into a messy cocktail of theories, questions, breakdowns of footage, and timeline charts people made on Reddit. Not because there was proof, but because the behavior, the phrasing, and the silence didn't feel aligned. And that's what pushed people to zoom out and look at the whole picture, from the footage to the leaks to the sudden social media wipe. When you step back and look at everything together, the whole situation stops feeling like a series of random moments and starts looking like a puzzle with missing pieces nobody wants to hand over. Mikey's instant phone reaction, the contradictory stories from people who should be aligned, the oddly intimate vacation footage, the sudden disappearance of the woman who allegedly leaked everything. It all stacks into this uncomfortable pattern that the internet hasn't been able to ignore. And that's the thing. Nobody online is claiming to have the truth. People are reacting to what looks off, what sounds rehearsed, and what just simply doesn't line up. Because in moments like this, silence is loud. Overly polished praise is loud. Sudden social media wipes are loud. And the way certain details get danced around instead of answered outright, that kind of thing always gets attention. Maybe this entire situation has a normal explanation and everything just looks strange because emotions were high and everyone was scrambling. Or maybe, and this is why people keep digging, the uncomfortable questions are uncomfortable for a reason. What really happened during those seconds after the shot? Why the opposite stories about the phone? Why hasn't anyone cleared this up with something as simple as a timestamp? Why did the leaks appear and then vanish with the person behind them? And why is the one person who may have answers the one who subtly isn't speaking? No matter where you stand, one thing is obvious. Someone, somewhere, knows exactly what happened that day. And until the silence breaks, people are going to keep watching, keep questioning, and keep connecting dots, even if those dots were never meant to be connected.